to the world. Subscribe now to the Hot 97 YouTube channel. It's Ebro in the Morning with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg.
Ebro, Laura, and Rosenberg. Rosenberg happens to be on assignment right now. He had a family assignment. His niece and nephew, I think, had a bar mitzvah or something. So, he had to go get his Jew on real quick and go to the family. You know what I'm saying? We got Laura Stiles here and our friend Talib, Kweli. What's popping, baby?
Hey,
Peace. What's up? What's
Peace. Yo, man, we blessed, man. It's good to see your face, man. First things first, as soon as we start this thing off, let's talk about your project with Diamond D. You got one single on the streaming services on Apple Music that we've been playing. I think it just came out, too.
I got a couple of one. I'm not sure which one we sent to y'all.
Attention Span with Sky Zoo. Shout to Sky Zoo.
Yeah, definitely. He's in Atlanta right now.
Yeah, man. How many are out right now from the project?
Let's see. We dropped the joint with Busta Rhymes, the quiet one. We dropped Attention Span with Sky Zoo. The video for the Attention Span with Sky Zoo will be out on Friday, and then we dropped On Mamas, which was the first one. That video is out as well on my YouTube.
Yo, how did the relationship between you and Diamond D? I mean, I'm sure you guys know each other, but how did the working relationship?
Mm-hmm. Well, Diamond is, of course, he's a old New York OG, a hip hop OG. And when I first started my career, Diamond was always very gracious with me in a mentorship capacity. And then, I got People's Party, which I need you on People's Party, bro. But
yeah,
Diamond
shout out to Up Rocks.
Yes, Diamond came out to LA to film People's Party. And because he's my OG, he sent me a bunch of tracks. So I wanted to show him some love before I did the interview with him. I actually recorded on like 10 tracks that he sent me in one night just to see if I could do it. And then when I listened back, I'm like, okay, this is the makings of an album. So we started just linking up and really putting it together officially.
Speaking of your podcast and your show, People's Party, you've had some phenomenal interviews, Chuck D, but also with the passing of DMX, again, people were, I guess, just rediscovering the conversation you guys had with DMX where he articulated basically somebody he looked up to putting crack in a blunt. And that was kind of him getting exposed and addicted. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was definitely talking about things that happen on the streets when you're living in poverty and living in abject poverty, which it seemed like DMX came from. I know the dude he was talking about, Reddy Ron, has been making the rounds, trying to clear his name, saying it wasn't him. I wasn't there. Or, he's trying to clear the story up. I wasn't there. I don't know Reddy Ron. I know X. X is somebody who showed me a lot of love throughout my career. People would not expect us to be friends, but we absolutely were. When we filmed that, I'm actually staying out of Yellow Springs where Dave Chappelle lives. DMX came out to Chappelle's house. He cooked us crab legs. I went out and played pool that time. So when you see that conversation with X, it wasn't just us sitting down for that conversation. It was a whole weekend of us hanging out. And I'm so glad that I had that time with him. You try not to live with your regrets, but I do regret that I did not. We talk so often about doing a record, and I got a record with so many people, but I don't got a record with X. But I'm glad that he gave me those memories, man. He gave me so much good memories to cherish.
But on that note, Talib, I mean, I think as artists, can you just share any positive, any special moments with X or times that just make you smile when you think back?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so I don't know if y'all remember. Well, of course y'all remember because y'all Hot 97. But we did myself and Yasin Bey when Amadou Diallo was shot by New York City police 41 times. Shout out to Devin Roberson, who passed away. She used to work at Ruckus. Myself, Yasin Bey, Devin, we put together Hip Hop for Respect. We got 41 MCs. We did a tribute to Amadou Diallo. We did a video. We had all these rappers on it. Kool G Rap, Rod Digger, De La Soul, Common, Pharoah Monch. And this was the year that DMX had 2 #1 records at once. No one had ever done that in history. DMX called me. I never met DMX. He called me and he was like, I want to be part of this record. He flew me down to Miami. Russell Simmons used to do these hip hop summits with Ben Chavis, who became Ben Muhammad, I believe is what his name is now. But DMX was at the hip hop summit, and DMX was the biggest star in the planet at this point. But he stopped everything he was doing to call the underground rapper for Raucus and be like, that conscious, positive, anti-police brutality record y'all have, I need to be a part of that. Now, wow. we never actually recorded the verse because of how hectic and how busy he was, but he took the time to fly me to Miami, and just the attempt that he made to get that done, it established our relationship and it established our connection. And when I hear records like Who We Be, I feel like, which DMX made later in his career, a couple of years after that meeting, I feel like that was him trying to give us what he was trying to do when he was trying to be on Hip Hop for Respect.
With DMX's passing, I often try to impart upon people how much spirituality and, religious belief is a part of our culture from all aspects, whether it's Islam, Christianity, and even if you're just spiritual and you're trying to find a righteous path. I would love for you to articulate that too, because I think a lot of people who are, they love hip hop. It's mainstream, especially here, Hot 97. You got a lot of people who listen to it, but they think hip hop is one dimensional. You as an artist that have talked about not only the Black American struggle, but the neighborhood struggle and being a black man and spirituality in your music. I would love for you to share with the audience just your perspective on that.
Okay, well, I have a book out. I just dropped my first book, Vibrate Higher. So I encourage everybody to visit Nkiru Books at QualiClub.com if you want to buy directly from me. It's also sold as independent black bookstores all across the country. It's also sold at Amazon if you're an Amazon type of person. But I have a chapter in my book called God Lives Through. And it's about my connection with spirituality. And in hip hop, because hip hop is a music that was born in the streets of New York City. In the streets of New York City, especially in the time when hip hop was born, 5% philosophy and really connection to Islam through the Nation of Islam and certain things in New York City. Hip hop has always been, Islam has been very much represented in hip hop. I'm not a religious person. I'm not someone who claims a religion. But what's interesting about DMX is that the way in which he embraces his Christianity, because DMX was trying to get to Jesus, and there's not a lot of rappers who are public about their relationship with Jesus. DMX, I think, you can look up the data. I think DMX might have mentioned God more than any other rapper ever. But besides Kanye West, and of course you got people like Lecrae who push, like gospel hip hop. There's not been another rapper who's been that upfront about his connection with Christ. And I have Christians in my family. My cousin, Reverend Darrell Footman in the Bronx. He's a pastor. My aunt Joanne is a pastor. He's a Christian pastor. So the DMX connects with them in a way that other rappers have never really connected with them. Yasin Bey, Dave Chappelle, these are some of my best friends in the world. These are Muslims. But when DMX does a prayer, they understand it. And to be clear, Islam does embrace Jesus as a pastor. Jesus is a prominent figure in Islam. So Muslims do have a lot of love for Jesus. But the way in which DMX talks about his connection with Jesus, you don't have to be a Christian to feel that and to understand that. And if you look at my Instagram page, one of the last times I hung out with DMX before we did the People's Party interview, I documented that. About 2 years ago, we did a show with Soul Rebels at Brooklyn Bowl, and we did a prayer. DMX would always pray before every show, and he would make everybody in the room do the prayer with him. And I'm a dude. I'm a hat dude. You see, I got my New York Mets hat. Y'all hardly ever see me without a hat. You got to be intimate with me on a beach or something. We got to be at the Mixed Show Power Summit or something for you to see me without my hat on. You know what I'm saying? But DMX made me take my hat off for the prayer, and I posted that on my IG because what X did was so powerful. And then he gave me so much from giving me that prayer before the show, but then he thanked me. He's like, yo, it means the world for me to be able to share that with another artist. So I respect this man for embracing his spiritual side so much.
Let's switch to Black Star and you and Yasin Bey. There's always a demand. Yes. There's always an ask. There's always so we'd be remiss if we didn't bring it up in this conversation.
Yes.
Every now and then we get one. But will there actually ever be another Black Star recorded release? Do you believe?
Well, we've completed an album. There is a second Black Star album that me and my friends listen to. But I've been very hard at work to try to find the right situation to release the new Black Star album. It's produced entirely by Madlib. Yasin Bey lives in Barcelona. And so he's not interested in the music industry. He's not interested in sort of the rigmarole of how America tears up its artists. I will say this. we're in a period now where people are understanding the problem with distribution, how racist and how slave-based the system of distribution been in the music business. And we just don't want to participate in that as a group. Spotify, the DSPs is where everybody gets their music. 90% of people are getting their music from Spotify, Apple, Tidal. But largely those contracts that these DSPs have with the artists are unfair. That we're talking about percentage fractions of a penny, and for most of them they don't even share with you their accounting and their booking, so we don't know how much they making. And I agree with my brother Yassine when he says that it's not fair. Now, while you can still find Talib Kweli music on all the DSPs, as the group Black Star, it doesn't look like we are going to be placing our music on the DSPs. So we are now exploring ways in which we can get our music to the fans and not have to prostitute ourselves in order to do that.
Love that. Now, Yassine Bey's last release, where you had to go to the Brooklyn Museum and it was like an art installation, which I thought that was a fire concept, though.
Yes, it's very creative, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the onus has always been on the artist to get the people to come to where you're at with the music. So the easiest thing for us to do is to put it on the DSPs. But Yassine has never been someone who does it the easy way. He's like rolling on the river. We don't do things nice and easy. You know, he is someone who the point that he's always made is that hip hop is a revolutionary music. Hip hop is a music that's meant to disrupt.
That's right.
You know, so why are we accepting the rules that they set up for us? At this point, it's time for us to be disruptive again. And him saying, well, in order to hear the new Mos Def album, new Yassine Bey album, you have to come to the Brooklyn Museum and you have to do it in the way I want to do it. He's putting the onus on himself. I did the same thing with QualiClub.com, you know, where I have that books. You can buy my books at QualiClub.com. You can buy merch, music. And I'm moving to a place where I could be more like my brother Yassine. He is completely detached from the Matrix. I'm still in the Matrix a little bit. So I'm following my brother's lead, and man, God bless that man for providing such a great example for artists like myself. I'm uniquely blessed to be in such close proximity to him. I wish, this is what the frustrated part, I wish that I could share my lessons that I get from my brother with the world. So and that's why I'm trying to figure out the best way to get this album out. So it's going to be out soon, but I will say this, it's looking like it's going to be a Black Star summer. I will say that.
I like how you talking, especially with all this NFT money moving around and all. There's a lot of digital. There's a lot of money out here.
You have to talk about that off camera because there's some things going on that I can't quite share.
No, I don't want detail. I don't want no detail. I don't want no detail.
See where we at. You see where we at.
I know how you moving. And you've also moved. You've been open about staying away from Twitter after the kerfuffle and.
They don't let me. I'm not allowed to be on Twitter. I'm not welcome. I don't go no place where I'm not welcome.
So it wasn't a suspension. It was a banning.
Suspension is banning. So in the Twitter language, a suspension means that they have suspended you from Twitter. They have definitely suspended me from Twitter. It's funny because I used to be the darling of Twitter. Jack used to DM me. Twitter used to call me. Like if I would call somebody like a coon, Twitter would call me and be like, yo, you gotta delete that. You know, but I think what happened with me, my suspension with Twitter, as you know, we've talked about this on this show. I'm targeted by white supremacists. You go on Reddit, you go on Nazi sites, they'd be like, let's all troll Kweli. And so there was a young lady who had made a comment, and she said, a young lady said, all no rappers are married to Black women. And then somebody else had made a comment and listed all the rappers that are married to Black women. My name was listed. I am recently divorced, and I gotta say that I'm divorced to a woman that I've been separated to for 5 years, but I've separated from for 5 years, but I've never spoken it publicly because it's not nobody's business. It ain't become anybody's business until people started trying to weaponize her and weaponize my relationship, along with these white supremacists and these Nazis who'll be trolling me on Twitter. But this young lady was upset because I defended the honor of not just the person who was my wife at the time, but the wives of all these other Black men who are married to Black women. And she said, well, they don't count as Black women because they light skinned. These women are light skinned. And so, colorism is a huge issue in the Black community, particularly when it comes to hip hop music. Rappers in general have been very, very guilty of engaging in colorism. I wouldn't say myself. I've done records like Black Girl Pain, Brown Skin Lady, put dark skinned women in my videos. I've been very conscious about my efforts to combat colorism in our community. But I'm a member of I'm a member of rappers. Rappers, definitely, we need to do a lot better. But we started arguing about this idea of colorism. And then instead of engaging in the argument, this young lady started aligning herself with white supremacists and saying things about me that white supremacists have.
Because those people who troll you jumped in out the fray to kind of help get behind her, but she didn't know who she was associating with.
That's right. And I don't think she even meant to do that, to give her the benefit of the doubt. She was definitely trying to attack me and the women in my family. She called my newborn a side baby. And that's why I didn't let up. Because I'm like, you coming after my child, you coming after the women in my family in the name of protecting Black women. And
now, so Talib, sidebar, how many times had I called you and told you to not get too upset and emotional on social? I was like, yo, fam.
Here's the thing. I've never been, that's the thing. Like, everything you see from me is text. I mean, do I look upset or emotional? But I could be like, fuck you with a smile on my face. I'm sorry.
That's real. That's cool. It's cool.
I'm not upset or emotional, but what I am is relentless. Right. And what I am is I'm aggressive in the way in which I state my opinion and make my case. And a lot of people want me to be quiet. There's a whole contingent of people who want me to be quiet. And what this woman did was she took it above and beyond, and she made it like Talib Kweli is attacking Black women. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who she told a lot of lies about me. There were people who doxed me and harassed me on her behalf. I got doxed.
Now, for the audience, I didn't know what dox was until you told me what dox was. And that's when you put somebody's total personal information, address, and everything, phone number on a social platform, correct?
Right. That's right. She didn't dox me, and I didn't dox her. But there were people who, on her behalf, and I have to imagine it was a white supremacist, who were doxing me and calling me into threatening my children, threatening my mother. And so I posted that screenshot of the dox, but I didn't cut out the number of the person who doxed me. And you can't post a phone number on Twitter. That's what I got suspended for. So Twitter called me, and they didn't call me, they emailed me, and they were like, look, we have all these complaints about you, but we couldn't suspend you because you haven't broke the rules, but here you are posting a phone number. So now we have to suspend you. And you know, I don't agree with their decision, but I accept it because really, you know, Twitter would, you know, whatever. I had a great time there, I had a great run. But this woman
but you do admit that the posting of the phone number was your fault to not edit it out.
Absolutely. Got
it.
I'm very clear what the TS is and TOS is, and I don't think I don't think they're infringing on my freedom of speech because it's their house, it's their rules. This woman made a GoFundMe in which she raised $15,000. If you go to her GoFundMe right now, Maya Moody is her name. She raised $15,000 saying that she was going to sue me because I harassed Jaguar Wright, and which is not true at all, and because I harassed her. And she still hasn't sued me. I'm still waiting for this lawsuit to come out. But I hope these people get their money back because that's, you know.
So you've been. I didn't know it went that far.
Oh, it went pretty far.
Wow. So now I was and. You know, once again, Diamond D and Talib Kweli putting out a project. It's called Gotham.
And it's a dedication to old New York. And it's bars on there.
Bars. Shout to Sky Zoo. Who else is on there?
Sky Zoo, John Forte, Busta Rhymes, Nico Is, Naire all day.
But the aggressive nature that you were going at it with white supremacists and Nazis on social media also revealed something very interesting, was the amount of money that was flowing into some of these individuals who claim to be for Black folks and the liberation of Black folks, reparations, but they were being financed and knowingly financed by people who were supported by or who were involved in the white supremacist movements on social media.
Yeah, you're talking about the ADOS crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ADOS it stands for American Descendants of Slavery. They have a website called ADOS 101, where you could go to the website and get direct information about. They purport to be about reparations, but if you read between the lines, they support Trump on their website. They support right-wing policies on their websites, and they're completely dismissive of any Democrat who is actually for reparations. They have gone out their way to attack each and every prominent Black person who has been supportive of reparations. In the hip hop space, you can't name an MC who has been more publicly supportive of reparations than myself. Once again, they attack me and my family. And the founder of ADOS was a woman named Yvette Carnell. She was a member of an organization called PFIR, which is Progressives for Immigration Reform, which is a white nationalist think tank founded by a white nationalist named John Tanton. And the goal of this group is to try to get Black people and marginalized people to join white nationalists in their hatred and disdain for immigrants. Yvette Carnell is someone who is anti-immigrant. And so while I can, to be fair, because I try to be fair, she may actually be someone who wants to have reparations. That may be true. But the way in which she does it, in which attacking other Black people who want reparations, aligning herself with white nationalists who don't care about reparations at all, that to me is very problematic. And I have a personal issue with them because of how they came at my family.
So one of the issues that I've always personally had, and not with a specific group, but the line I always draw is anything that is tied to white supremacy, Nazism, white nationalists. Like, I'm for reparations, but I'm not willing to align with that.
That's right. And I think that reparations is we need reparations. It's a must. And so when you put reparations in the title, then people automatically going to be with you. But it's like, I'm gonna say this too, because you talk about people being aligned with money coming in, right?
Yeah.
The story out, the New York Post posted a story about Patrisse Cullors, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter. And it was talking about how there's 90 million went into Black Lives Matter. And then all of a sudden, this woman has bought real estate all over the world and all over the country and this and that. And the person, and they say in an article that other Black Lives Matter activists are questioning her and asking for accountability. And they list this dude named Hawk Newsom from the Black Lives Matter of Greater New York. And I'm like, well, that sounds fishy. Why Black Lives Matter of Greater New York? That doesn't even sound like a real organization. And so I Googled this guy and I looked him up and I looked up what he's posting, and he's not a member of Black Lives Matter at all. He just calls himself a member of Black Lives Matter. He's retweeting hashtag Black Guns Matter. Black Guns Matter was started by Mash Toure. Mash Toure is a Trump supporter, Black dude from Philly. He's a Trump supporter who works with the NRA, who took the Black Lives Matter thing and turned it into Black Guns Matter, because he doesn't like Black Lives Matter. So now you got this guy who's doing interviews with the New York Post, who's down with and retweeting hashtags from people who are anti-Black Lives Matter, presenting himself as a member of Black Lives Matter. No one owes him an explanation for where this money is.
This shit is a whole fucking mess.
This woman, Patrisse Cullors, she wrote
I love Patrisse. That's my sister.
She wrote a best-selling book. The book was a bestseller on New York Times list. She made money. She bought real estate. We not allowed to buy real estate now? Like, this is crazy. We're not allowed to have ownership because we speak up for the people. That's insane to me. And people are not reading between the lines. People are taking what the New York Post, which is owned by Fox News Corp, which is a conservative organization. People are taking what they say as gospel. People are not researching who are these people.
People just read the headlines. People just read the headlines. Man.
And I say that to say that we have to read between the lines. Just because someone says they are Black Lives Matter does not mean they are down with the actual Black Lives Matter. Just because someone says they're for reparations, well, if they're for reparations and you're inviting Donald Trump to your meeting for reparations when he's already said he's against reparations, then what are we talking about?
Well, and I think the other piece that I want to impress upon folks that might be tuned into this, that I think gets lost in the reparations conversation, is how Black property and Black intellect and Black money specifically and Black intellectual property has been devalued by the system. Yeah. So if they're willing to give you money but won't put value on your neighborhoods, that's just a setup for more of the same.
Yeah, well, you're getting into the weeds there, because the reparations conversation has been, there are experts in the space, people from NARC, people from all different types of organizations, Malcolm X grassroots movement, who I've worked with for years, have been talking about reparations. But the experts are the economists, people like Sandy Darity from the I think Ohio University, or he's somewhere in Ohio. I defer to the economic experts when it comes to how we're going to get the reparations out. The ADOS people criticize the Democrats because the Democrats are pushing for a bill in order for us to
HR 40.
Right, HR 40, right, the bill to figure out the best way in which to get reparations to the people. And what the ADOS people and the people who are like them is say, well, that we don't need to study why we need reparations. Why do we even need HR 40? And it's like, well, because Are we just going to invest back in the system? Look, I raised a lot of money in Ferguson, and then we spent, tens of thousands of dollars on bail, getting people paying people's bail. I did a bail relief fund, but then there were some other activists who said, well, if we keep giving bail money like that, we're just giving money back into the system. And I never thought about that. So is reparations just us giving cash so we can go buy things so the cash can go back in the system? Or is it healthcare? Or is it education? I know in Illinois, in the cannabis movement, there's a reparations play in terms of Black people not having to pay taxes when it comes to starting up new cannabis businesses. There's a lot of creative ways we can do it, but it's not for us to speculate on Twitter or Instagram, and we're not economists. That's silly. I'd rather just go to the economists and defer to them.
Talib Kweli, thank you for your time today, sir.
Get
that new Gotham release. Get that new Gotham.
And get my book, Vibrate Higher, is on my website, qualityclub.com. And Gotham will be out on all DSPs and vinyl on Friday. And I love y'all, man. Good to see y'all.
Love you too. And coming back around too. Listen, 6 months from now, not even, what was April, May, June, July, about July, you know what I'm saying? We're going to be looking for that Black Star too, my G.
All right. Well, I'm going to try to deliver on that.
You know what I mean?
No
listen, don't make no mistake behind the scenes. I'm going to throw some ideas too.
Let's go. You got my number.
You know what I mean? Talib Kweli, thank you, sir. We love you.
Thanks,
Peace.
Talib.
Peace.